Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the DOR-O-MATIC 100 or OHC100-VO arm. It's a VO arm package, and that means something particular. And this may be DOR-O-MATIC or Falcon, the way that DOR-O-MATIC has been rebranded. So the bottom line is, when you order one of these, you're going to get the slide track. It has the slide block already in the track. Okay, the bumper assembly here. This goes in the top of the door. Then you, of course, will have the offset arm. That's going to connect between the spindle coming off the overhead concealed closer and the slide block, not unlike this. That's what that's going to look like. Finally, you're going to get the installation instructions along with some fasteners. That C-clip is there because that's what's going to hold the offset arm onto the slide block right here. That's where that will go. So let's take some basic dimensional properties. Overall length of the slide track, about 12 7/8 or so. Overall width, looks like it's about 1 1/4 inches. Thickness of the track itself looks like it's about 9/16 or so. The overall length of the offset arm, quite nearly 13 inch, with a width of about 1 inch and a thickness of about 1/4 inch. Okay, let's talk about exactly what this is used for. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. So the OHC100-VO, it's an arm is what it is, and the arm, this arm in particular, is special in that it is an offset arm, and what that means is you have a center hung closer body up in the header. That means the spindle is coming down somewhere in the center of the thickness of the door, generally right in the center of the thickness of the door. Well, that's all good if you have a center hung door in the sense that it's hung on center hung pivots. But if you have an overhead concealed closer and it's hung on offset pivots, a continuous geared aluminum hinge or a pin and barrel hinge or just butts, that type of standard arm, which would be something just like this, that would be in the top of the door, is not going to work. You need to have the offset relationship because the vertical axis of pivoting is through the center of the header down through the center of the door for the closer. But there's a different axis of pivoting when you have an offset hung. The butts, the continuous geared hinge, the pin and barrel, or the pivots. That center of pivoting is generally about 3/4 off the face of the door, certainly not in the center. So you need an arm with this type of offset to interpolate that sort of geometry, and that's what this is for. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at all the supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Here's the item that we are looking at. That's the factory image that we're staring at there. Not much to see. Let's take a look at and this would be a center hung arm here with a bottom pivot. Let's take a look at the stock images that we have. There's the label, OHC, overhead concealed arm. It's a VO arm in an aluminum type finish. You do see part of the arm when the door is open. That's the package. That's the contents. You'll see this, so that'll have a finish to it. That's what it's going to look like when it's assembled. That's connecting to the spindle on the closer. This sort of geometry is what allows, this sort of geometry is what allows. Let's memorize this in our mind's eye, and then let's look at this. Let's draw that. Actually, we can reuse part of this. So here's this is our header, and here's our other jamb here. Here's our door. Our door has its pivot point here. Well, actually, let's say it's hung on butts, so the pivot point is going to be about here. Well, that overhead concealed closer, it's installed here, and it's going to have its pivot point about here. So you're going to need the arm track installed in the top of the door. And the point of all of this is this center line and that center line are not the same center line. Well, pardon me. That center line and that center line is why you need the offset arm. So then your slide block will be here. Your bumper assembly will be here. That arm is going to curve out like this and connect to that spindle and back over the slide block. That's why you have to have that offset arm, because of this. Now, if there were center hung pivots, this would be the wrong arm. But because you've got a vertical axis of pivoting here, you have to have an offset arm. Closer spindle sits here. It's shown. This should be flipped over is the bottom line. This arm, something here should be moved around. This needs to be at the other end when it's in the closed position. Actually, this would work if we were in the fully open position, like to 90 degree, and our jam was in this orientation here. Spring assembly, slide block. Those slide blocks do wear with time. You put several 100,000 cycles on a door, that piece of high-tech plastic is going to wear out, and they can be purchased separately. Slide block. The end of the track. Let's look at one more set of images. That's the set screw holding the arm onto the spindle. This goes over the slide block post. Your fastener package, and then finally, let's dive into the installation instructions. If you've made it this far into this video, you must be determined to see it through to the end, and we appreciate your hanging in there with us and watching this entire video. It means a lot. It takes a lot of work to create these videos in the sense that, you know, it's time taken away from doing other things. However, the advantage for me personally of creating these videos is the fact that it does allow myself to either learn about something new, to reacquaint myself with something, or to reinforce what I believe that I already know. Any comments that you might leave down below would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Okay, here are the installation instructions. This was scanned in because I couldn't find one original from the factory. Offset slide arm for offset pivot or butt hinged doors. So offset. Let's define what that means. Back to our drawing. It basically means that the vertical axis of pivoting is offset from the face of the door. It's generally from the face of the door to here is generally 3/4 inch. It could be different, but that's generally what it is. So when they say offset, yes, because if you looked at, let's just look at it. If you looked at a catalog for pivots, let's say, which are very common for aluminum storefront doors, Rixson is a quite prime example of the definition of offset. Perfect. Offset versus center hung. Center hung. You use a center hung closer, but then you offset the pivoting axis, 3/4 inch here. That's where the term offset comes in, because it is offset, and it's measured from the face of the door, to the center line of the vertical axis of pivot. Okay. Now something also really important for 7/8 top rail. There are closer arms. I should say there are closers with longer spindles than standard, because the top rail of your door, this is your aluminum door looking at it in section, that spindle's got to come down here. Well, that slide track has got to fit in here comfortably so that the dimension is 7/8. That arm needs to fit in that 7/8 top cavity. If you have a deeper top rail than that, this probably isn't the right material, because the slide track very likely is going to need to be larger, or your spindle's going to need to be longer. When you have a center hung closer, whether it be an offset arm or you have a door closer, basically, or you have possibly an overhead concealed door stop, it's very standard to notch the face of the door like this. And that's because when the door opens, this arm is going to reside within the top rail cavity, but it needs to exit. This would be the egress side. Well, it's the push side of the door when the door is closed. Those are all your components. So 50% of the instructions just show you what this is supposed to look like, so it's fairly easy. Page 2 gives you all the good dimensions, and when I had showed you that image of the unit, it's replicating this when the door is in the 90-degree open position. Yeah. It would be really nice if they showed the door in the closed position, but if you imagine what that looks like, you've got a center of vertical axis of pivot here, you've got another one here, and that point is going to reside, you know, off center. It's going to be over here somewhere. Shows you what it looks like. Generally what happens when people replace these, they're just removing the old and putting in the new, and likely not even staring at this material. You'll notice that this is 7/8. 7/8 is 1/2 inch and 3/4. Not a common question, but a lot of people will ask, well, can I install an overhead concealed closer on a 2 1/4 inch thick door? Yeah, sure you can. The closer really doesn't care what this dimension is, just so long as this is 7/8. Door corner removal is not needed for 5/8 for optional 5/8 offset pivot full corner door. Okay, yeah, so what are they showing us here? Okay, so if you have a 3/4 inch offset, and remember our dimension here, that's based on when the door is inset from the face of the frame. That's actually pushed in a little bit, about 1/8 inch. If you happen to have a very common condition in an aluminum storefront where the door and frame are flush, well, that 3/4 becomes 5/8. They're saying in that instance, here, you don't have to cut this out because of how that geometry changes. Really nice if you're doing a new installation, which is very possible. They're giving you A, B, and C. Where's A, B, and C? There it is. A, B, and C. It's really important. The B is super important to know. You have to know where that first screw hole is going to lie. B minus 5/16 is going to be the track to the high side of the door if it's beveled. You have to observe the A dimension. That's from the jamb to the center line of the spindle, 3 3/4. That's got 2 asterisks. Where A dimension exceeds 2 3/4, shims or spacer is needed. If you were to make this, say, 5 inch, I don't know where they're coming up with needing a spacer or a shim for that. My opinion is that you need to reduce that B dimension if you're going to move this over. Installation offset slide arm door preparation for 7/8 depth top rail preparation steps. Cut out inside face of top rail for arm is shown. Assuming the door swings out, that would be the inside face. And they're literally talking about this prep here. And the door probably does swing out. Insert slide into slide channel or the slide block with end marked 90 degree or 105 degree toward butt edge of door required for door opening. And what that means is the slide block, if you look at it here and you look at it here, that pivot point is not in the center. So you flip it around based on what degree of open that you need. Place arm on closer spindle and fasten securely. Yep, there will be... That's where this set screw comes in. I'd actually like to hop over here. These pictures are a little more helpful at this stage. You're going to secure it with that set screw. Close main and latching speed control valves. That's important. Just do it, and you'll see why in a second. Open door 45 degree, and using caution, pull arm away from stop. Connect hole in arm to pin in the slide and secure with C-clip. You're closing those valves so that you've got the door in place and you push it open, it's not going to start to close on you. Readjust main and latch speed valves for proper door closing speed. That's it. You need these charts if you're doing a new installation. If you're replacing one, you probably just want to make sure that the dimensions I gave initially on the actual length of the parts match what you need, and if that's the case, then you're in good shape. Now, there's a link below this video, or above this video, as seen here, to the manufacturer's page, and from here you can pull up all of the common DOR-O-MATIC parts that we sell, a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full-line catalog. DOR-O-MATIC has been rebranded as Falcon, so you'll see documents here that are quite old because the branding change occurred many years ago. But if you type in Falcon and get to any of the Falcon products that we have in our site that are Falcon as a manufacturer, and get to that, you'll then see the Falcon Master Product Catalog. We'll open up that document. And then we'll do a Control F for OHC100. OHC100. That's the series of closer. Your different arms. You got offset, butts, continuous geared aluminum hinge, pin and barrel, pivots. You need this. Center hung, you can either do a side load or an end load. Mounting brackets, top pivot, bottom pivot. And what they're showing you, in addition to the 3 arms, the mounting brackets, 2 bottom pivot types. They're just different models of pivots that you may or may not, that you'll have to determine which you need if you're doing a new installation. The bottom line is the GE model is used with thresholds, where you're going to literally attach that pivot stud to the threshold through the threshold. This would be a floor mount. You can put a threshold over it, but you have to make sure you've got the right threshold for that. Okay. So let's wrap up this video on camera. Regarding the links to ads that you might see in this video, we do apologize for any interruption to a smooth viewing experience, and hopefully the ads that are being presented to you are related to the base product. And if there is something, feel free to click on those and perhaps consider taking a look at what that other advertiser is promoting. Let's get back to the video. So purchasing these arms, it's not unusual at all. They do, the arm is what obviously takes the majority of all of the abuse, and that's why people purchase these arms. Slide blocks, most common, absolutely. We can sell you these, even though they don't list them. I'm pretty sure we can get you a slide block because Falcon's in cooperation with someone on this. We'd be able to get you slide blocks. It's the consumable item on this. Extreme sort of damage condition, yeah, you're going to need a replacement arm, is what the bottom line is. Any questions on the OHC100-VO, and VO stands for Offset Arm, or any other Falcon DOR-O-MATIC Legion product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.